you don't just want to sort of promote everything related to EOS with no real point. It's not really necessarily just, hey, everybody check out EOS, it's a good coin, you should buy it. There's really deliberate things that we can market and advertise that can fill needs. So for example, when EOS EVM is out, we could hype EOS EVM to try to bring users in, which is one approach. But a more deliberate marketing strategy would be something predicated towards incentivizing developers to come towards EOS. Another sort of thing we can do is things like giveaways, where we give away EOS based off of meme contests about EOS, and have those sort of structured in a way where it's consistent with key sort of dates on the EOS calendar. So in anticipation of the EOS EVM launch, having an EOS EVM meme contest, for example, and distributing some of the funds that I raise as the sort of prize money, as the incentive to encourage people to generate these memes, is a really good way of doubling down on something that's working. EOS EVM is messaging that's currently working. It's something that's worth hyping. And so when you have this whole influx of people just posting memes on Twitter, it makes you start to take notice if you're outside of the ecosystem. And so really, just to summarize sort of my pitch, I'm not profiting off of this. If I raise $3,000, that's $3,000 going in marketing. If I raise $5,000, it's $5,000 going into marketing. I'm not going to get a penny out of this. And yeah, that's really the pitch. If you support it, I'd love to hear your donations. If anyone has questions or concerns about it, more than happy to answer them. But really, this is just a way for me to access some marketing funds, and for me to show that I can help market EOS in an effective way.
That was great. Thanks for the great pitch. Yeah, I gotta say, I like what you had to say. I'll be supporting your grant when I get around to donating to all these grants. Does anyone else have some comments or questions for Trimbot? I have a few, but I'd like to hear from others as well.
I just wanted to commend Trimbot on the great effort on Twitter and on what you've been doing. We've been paying attention, and super awesome. My question is very simple. First of all, I think your grant should be supported, no questions asked. But I wanted to ask you, what you think that the amount of effort and maybe capital allocated would require to do something what you're applying and doing it over on YouTube, because I know that's kind of another scenario we're lacking presence there.
So I think that would be a really effective way of using funds. And I hate to say that I think I'd be good at being the YouTuber. I do have past experience doing it, but it's not something that I personally want to be doing at this time. It would be so in order for me to do the Twitter thing, it's something I'm doing because I believe in the community. I want to support EOS, and I'm advocating for it, and I want those funds so that I can market EOS. In order for me to be the YouTuber, I'd like that's where I'd want personal funding for it. And I'm not here to ask for anyone to pay me to be the YouTuber or anything along those lines. So I think it's a great initiative if someone does want to step up and be that YouTuber. But for me to do it, it would be quite expensive. And I don't think it's something the community should be paying for.
I have a question.
What would it take to get you to do a YouTube? Like, obviously, set up the channel is one thing, but just maybe run a couple of episodes of just to get you going. I mean, obviously, you said you want funding. Do you need money for funding for equipment, or just as a salary? What is it?
No, what I'm saying is that right now, one of the great things about my Twitter account is I can remain anonymous. And by doing so, I don't have to bridge my personal life into crypto. Once I do that, there's quite a high price tag associated with it for me in order to dox myself. And I don't think it's worth the EOS community paying me to be that YouTuber, because I'd be starting from scratch. I'd have to build my way up, likewise for my Twitter account. And so it would take quite a while before the fruits of my labor would actually pay off in a viral way. Where it would come into handy is you would have maybe better videos than are currently out there that you could send to people, but they would only have 1,200 views or something along those lines. It takes time to develop a YouTube channel. And so for me to do it, it would be a full-time really commitment for about at least a year. And when I look at when you look at what type of budget the ENF has, how much people are making money-wise, it's not a whole lot. And in order for me to do something like this, it would require quite a high pay grade. And I don't think it's right for me to demand as much money as Yves LaRose is making from the ENF, for example, to do this. So I think you're better off looking for someone else to be that YouTuber.
Yeah, I like that you're actually focusing on something niche and specific that you're really great at. So I think it's great that you're just focusing on Twitter, that you're going to do it for free, and you're just basically going to use all these donation money to amplify the work that you've been doing. And what I really like is that you've been showcasing for the last, I don't know, 4 weeks or so. You seem to be in overdrive, just posting a lot, great content, getting great reactions from the community. So we know what we're going to get if we invest in this grant. So that's really good, and I love to see that from Pomelo grants.
Appreciate that, and really what I wanted to speak about today is I think a lot of people listening to this chat probably know a little bit about me and see my content and whatnot, but I kind of want to hear from the people who are saying, like, here's why I don't want to donate to you. And I would love to hear from somebody who's like, hey, I don't support what you're doing, or either I don't think you deserve Pomelo funding, or I think it's a waste of money. Like, those are the people who I really want to hear from. Because I think the most productive conversations are when you sort of disagree. I think we all agree that, or there are a lot of people who have said, like, yeah, it's great to market EOS, but there's a lot of people who are probably not going to donate to this project, and that's completely okay. I'm just curious, what is holding you back? And I'd also like to say, just on that note, I haven't done my donations yet. I haven't donated to a single Pomelo project yet. I do intend to do so. And so just putting that out there.
Yeah, I've also got a +1 to the amount of unique donors coming in. I haven't donated yet, but definitely will. All right, I like it. Trimbot wants to bring on the heat, so let's go. What are your best objections to Trimbot's proposal here?
I have a question, and it relates to that as well. Can I ask it?
Go for it.
You kind of mentioned that you're anonymous, and that was what my question was going to be, is who is Trimbot, the human behind it? And if you want to be anonymous, that's fine. I just like to know why, and what's your thinking behind that?
Yeah, sure. Mostly just because I value the privacy of my personal life. And there's some elements of my personal life that are a little bit more public that I don't want to overlap with sort of the crypto stuff.
Great narrative building there, sir. Well done. I like it.
There's a time and a place. At one point, maybe I will dox, but I see a lot of downside and not a whole lot of upside from doing so.
Totally feel you on that one. I docked myself early on in my crypto career because I wanted to benefit the world by talking about this to as many people as possible. But now, 5 years later, I've realized the price is potentially very high. So definitely understand why people would not want to dox themselves if they can avoid it, and still be able to bring great value to the community. So yeah, it's all good with me. Although that would have also been, the devil's advocate question that I would have asked you if no one would have asked anything.
Absolutely. And I mean, like, in theory, let's say it ever got to a point where I was being provided with, 6 figures or 7 figures of a budget at one point, I would obviously want to do a KYC type of thing for your guys' safety and sanity, because I'm just anonymous. You don't want to trust an anonymous person. But in terms of what I'm doing right now on Twitter, I don't really see a need to dox. And to be quite honest, I think that there's a lot more value in being anonymous and doing so, because it's nothing to do with my status, who I am in real life, what my accomplishments are, what my education is. It really is just, you can evaluate the content I post, and that's it. That's all you have to evaluate.
Couldn't you keep your anonymity through YouTube? There is other channels that don't actually you don't actually see the people doing the videos, creating the videos. They use a robot voice and etc., don't they? So you don't have to avoid that.
Yeah, and you're right about that. In theory, that's possible, but I don't think those types of videos would really gain any traction. If you look at some more popular YouTubers, They're never anonymous. That's not the same with pseudonym-based Twitter accounts, but you'll never find that with YouTube. I can call myself Trimbot, never give myself docs, and still go on camera, for example, and that might work. But you can't, I don't think, just have a robot voice, no visual of your face, and expect people to trust you as a reliable source of information on YouTube, at least.
You could keep your voice though, couldn't you?
Sorry?
You could keep your voice.
Yes, I could.
Without actually sort of seeing yourself, so that would probably work.
We're not going to get him on YouTube, guys. He's made that clear. Let's focus on Twitter. Let's focus on the memes. Let's focus on what's coming.
Look, if you guys want to give me 100,000 EOS, I'll consider it, but I don't think that's happening anytime soon. So at the end of the day, when it comes down to YouTube or Twitter, my goal is not to be a 2,000 follower account. Like, I want this to be an 100,000 follower account. And with YouTube, if I were to do it, I wouldn't want to be a 500 to 800 view per video type of YouTuber. I would want it to be hundreds of thousands of views. And in order to get to sort of that magnitude, you definitely would need to dox, in my opinion, at least.
I think we need someone like that really badly, and I would have assumed that there would be funding for something like that, because we need it. And I'm assuming that if the right people are listening, that they might consider that. But obviously, it's like saying that you can achieve them numbers, but getting them numbers is another thing, isn't it?
One of the biggest hopes that I have, and I've made this point many times, is that my efforts and everyone else's efforts that's going on behind the scenes with EVM and with all these other things that are going on, over time, when the price sort of starts to appreciate, as I expect it will, a lot of people are going to start taking notice about what's going on in EOS, and a lot of people are going to see an opportunity to establish themselves as an EOS influencer or an EOS expert, whether it's somebody with an existing YouTube account who converts to more EOS-based content or new voice sort of emerges. I think that's a pretty likely outcome over the next little while. I completely agree with you. It'd be great to have a specific YouTuber with a pretty large following who you can say, like, this is the EOS guy. Unfortunately, right now, it's not realistic for that to be me.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Hey, Trim. You keep doing what you're doing. You put out great stolen fare, so I appreciate your stuff.
Appreciate that. I don't know who said it, but I appreciate it.
Hey, Trimbot, can you guys hear me? I think I'm on here.
Yeah.
Okay,
hey, sorry,
cool.
just one question. This is just a Trimbot thing, but I'd appreciate if who's ever speaking could just identify who they are. Just because, like, I don't know knowing who's talking at what time.
Yep, this is Tony Licavolia, the green weird avatar.
Perfect.
All right. Hey, so this is Felix. So, I have a Pomelo grant out as well, and so I'm more on the media side as well, and so I've received a lot of support from the EOS community, especially with this Pomelo grant lately. Like, it does feel like I'm getting pulled back in to just really make content surrounding EOS. So I guess my question to you is are you going to make yourself more accessible to the community for kind of guidance? Because I do like a lot of the initiatives and the way that you word things. Like, you do a really good job of, like, kind of bridging the gap of kind of dumbing down the technicals and yeah, really onboarding people who like on a more broader level. And so I think, like, having input from someone like you can really help, and maybe even guidance too for someone like, you're saying we need, like, some YouTubers, and that's kind of the space that I'm kind of looking at as well. But I also think that it'd be valuable to get insight and guidance from you, because you're doing a really great job. Like, the fact that you've just popped up in the last couple of months and you've already gained this much, like, momentum and traction just goes to show a lot of your work that you've done.
Yeah, appreciate it. I mean, I'm more than happy to help anybody with anything. I do intend to help. Like, one of the things that I want to do at some point when EOSEVM is ready to go, and there's a bunch of new dApps coming in to act as sort of like a launch pad for a lot of projects that I personally vet and I believe in, to sort of help market them. And I'm happy to do the same for anyone else. who just wants help with, sort of copy or messaging or what sort of makes sense to communicate, what doesn't. I think the biggest problem with a lot of people is, especially in the blockchain world, is really, really, really smart people. And you start talking about why your solution is great, and you start talking about all the details that an expert might care about, but 98% of their audience is not an expert. And so I'm sort of focused on that 98%, not that 2%. And so if it's non-technical sort of question, I'm more than happy to help you with that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's exactly kind of what I feel like my aim is as well, is to really be able to market to the mainstream who, aside from EOS being specific in the EOS or in the cryptocurrency like ecosystem, just understanding blockchain and the empowerment that it's going to bring to the world. And so what way would be, I guess, the best way to reach you for these type of communications?
You can just DM me on Twitter or on Telegram. I just want to clarify one thing. I sort of see there's 3 possible audiences, and those audiences are people within the EOS space, people within the crypto space but outside of the EOS space, and then people outside of the crypto space. In my opinion, it's a waste of time to focus on the people outside of the crypto space and try to onboard them, given where we are today, in my opinion. So for me, I wouldn't be trying to say, hey, new to crypto, come buy EOS. I don't think that's a winning strategy. I think our best strategy right now, and I don't think it's, hey, people in EOS, come look at EOS because they're already in EOS. And maybe they'll buy more EOS, but that's not really going to grow us. So where I'm really focused on are the people inside of crypto who are largely anti-EOS. And so that's the sort of marketing that I'm focused on, and the targeting and the messaging. And so that's why I talk about things like saying EOS has been correctly labeled a ghost chain, or the EOS ICO was basically a scam by Block One. Like the reason I'm sort of hammering that type of messaging is to resonate with specific groups of people. So I think the most important thing for you to identify first is, who are you trying to reach, and what message do you want them to know?
Okay, cool. I appreciate it.
All right. Great. Thanks for the comments, everyone. I think we ran a bit long on this pitch, but I think it was great. And yeah, thanks a lot, Trimbot, for joining us. Are you staying around for the next hour or so?
Yeah, I have a call to jump on soon, but I'll jump off and then jump back on. But I'll be around.
All right, cool. We'll check for you during the open mic session at the end if other people have questions for your grant.
Great.
All right, thanks a lot for sharing, and good luck with everything. Okay. Next up, we've got Bishop from EOS Support. He's gonna talk a bit about his grant. Bishop, are you around?
Yes, sure.
All right, take the stage.
Thanks, Stefan. So, hi everyone. My name is Charles Arroyo Bishop. My friends and everyone in the community know me as Bishop. I'm head of communications over at EOS Support, and it's my pleasure today to be able to present our Pomelo pitch and most recent work. So, for those that don't know us, EOS Support is a non-profit organization dedicated to providing support in all its forms to our community. Our support services have made a lot of impact since Pomelo Season 1, and we have tackled issues ranging from user account creation to creating how-to content and guides to educate users. Support agents have been providing support in the EOS Discord, Telegram, Reddit, Facebook groups, Eden, and of course the Eden support platform itself. Even though EOS Support started less than 6 months ago, the hard work of our core admins and team members, our support initiative has shown but a fraction of what we can accomplish for the EOS network. And it's my pleasure again today to be able to present what we have done, the most recent work, and where we're headed. I'll quickly go over some of the milestones that we reached since Pomelo Season 1. So, since the first season, we have hired 14 EOS support agents, 17 squad members who are helping create how-to guides and providing support in English, Chinese, Korean, Spanish, French, German, and Turkish. I'll be detailing later what the squad members are and how they exactly contribute to the EOS support. And as said previously, we have increased our multilingual support with 14 agents providing support in English, 3 in Chinese, 3 in Korean, 2 in Spanish, 2 in German, and respectively 1 in French, Turkish, Italian, and Russian. Yes. We have responded to 365 tickets with 4,169 replies. Our response time to answer a ticket was around 46 seconds, I reckon, and with overall 97.9 customer satisfaction. We have created 133 how-to articles, and guides for the community and newcomers. And of course, a large amount of those have been translated to our supported languages. You can find the exact numbers on our Pomelo pitch. Our support agents have onboarded also 23 Eden members, and we've made sure that all onboarded members are added to the Eden group Telegram. EOS support has collected information also on around 1,000 DApps and centralized exchanges and decentralized exchanges. Out of the 1,000, which is around 881, if I recall, 500 of those were online, 13 were double entries, 11 had no data available, and 1 was a scam, for example. So around 300 email addresses in total were collected through this work, and it was a challenging task done by our team. And this collection of information will now benefit the whole community in getting to know itself better. So in that same spirit, out of global collaboration, we are of course building the EOS Support website as a multilingual platform. We've been collaborating with many teams in the ecosystem, and we're always open to helping out more in the future as well, of course. EOS Support has also tracked scams, provided community awareness through the EOS Support Twitter account. Stefan can show you on screen our scam prevention page that we have on the EOS Support website. This is where we collect information on all the current scams active in the EOS community. And we invite you all, of course, to check out all of them just to be safe. Besides our main EOS Support IO English Twitter account, we now manage EOS Support accounts on Twitter in Chinese, Korean, Spanish, French, German, Russian, Turkish, and Italian. The goal again is to make sure that a maximum number of people in the EOS community, regardless of their spoken language, receive support and are warned about these scams. Also, one thing that matters to us is using these channels to educate EOS holders on how to maximize the security of their accounts through learning how to change the keys and using the savings options of Rex, for example, to add an unstucking delay to their tokens. So I mentioned before how we recruited squad members, and I'll now explain what they are, since it's the new addition since the first season. They are not full-time EOS team members and support agents with the pay that it entails. Instead, they act as ambassadors for the EOS support and the EOS ecosystem as a whole. There are EOS community members out there that are already helping the people in the social media channels and helping people direct them to articles from EOS support and to our live chat. Others promote EOS and EOS DApps that are public goods, for example, and some bring value to the EOS network by creating local EOS communities and take the time to learn about EOS and then teach others about what they learn. So the goal here is to onboard these people as squad members and reward the work they are doing. For this, we have begun holding bi-weekly squad meetings. Before each meeting, the squad members will prepare a brief presentation of what they have contributed over the last 2 weeks. And our admins then keep track of all the work they have done. At the meetings themselves, all the squad members are randomly grouped in small groups, and then they will find consensus among them to choose the best EOS support work done by one of them. All the participants in those groups are rewarded 10 EOS just for helping find consensus and verifying the contributions of other members. And then the winner, chosen by them, is awarded 15 EOS. We held the first meetings just a short while ago, And the first winners were Wilfred Patrick for promoting EOS at conferences in his local community in Nigeria and on social networks. Our second winner was Veronica Diaz for promoting EOS and EOS support in Spanish through EOS Vision, translation, and on social media. Other benefits from being an EOS support squad members include being able to add eosupport.io to their handles on social media, and being also in direct contact with us over at EOS Support to provide further support to your contributions into the community. Of course, the opportunity that a squad's member have is to move up the ranks then in EOS Support to become a full-time EOS Support agent or any other open position from language leader to administrator over at EOS Support. Overall, in conclusion, as the as a concierge of EOS, EOS Support hopes to continue providing support for the EOS network and of course help users navigate through the EOS ecosystem as easily as possible. With the support of the EOS community, we will continue to build the multilingual EOS Support platform and collaborate with other teams, as always, to bring value to token holders and to the network itself. I tried to do that as quick as possible since we took some time with the first speech, and thank you all for listening.
All right, thanks for the pitch, Bishop. You're lucky I didn't start the timer when you started. We went a bit long there, but you guys have been doing such a great work with EOS support. I couldn't bring myself to interrupt you. So good job with the pitch. Personally, I really like the fact that you guys are breaking down the numbers in terms of what you've accomplished since season 1, which, as many may know, you guys were also funded through Pomelo in season 1 at the end of 2021. So it's nice to see returning grants like that, and specifically returning grants that are showcasing the numbers and the impact that they've had. So overall, really well done, and I'm looking forward to contributing to this grant.
Thanks, Stefan.
Anyone else here in the Fireside would like to share some comments or questions with Bishop? It was very informative.
Bishop, do we have any data on how many new users you've helped on board? Like how many actual new accounts you guys help create, or do you've identified that have been created?
Sure. We have stats on nearly everything. The way we do it is every time there's a new ticket that we receive, we add tags to them. So if it's a ticket about creating a new account, we have a tag designated to those, and so we keep track of all the new accounts that we've created. I don't have the numbers on hand, but yeah, sure, we have them somewhere. As Stefan said, it's very important for us to keep track of every single data that we have, so we can provide, clear information on what we are doing and how we are helping the support.
Thank you. Thank you for your work.
You're welcome, Ernan. It's a pleasure doing this for all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys a lot for the work you're doing. I was doing a lot of EOS customer support as community manager for EOS Nation for 5 years now. And definitely very nice to have a place I can send people with questions where I know they're going to be welcomed 24/7 by someone from the community that is well educated and can point these new people into the right direction. So yeah, really good work you guys have been doing.
It was actually most of my job as EOS Israel was providing support for people here in Israel speaking Hebrew that needed some guidance on EOS. So yeah, you guys have working
I'm
on.
sure many of us here in this chat have provided EOS support for people over the years and are thankful for EOS support. And it shows already 102 contributors to the EOS support grant. So far, definitely one of the most popular grants on Pomelo season 2.
No, thank you all again. We see the contributions rise every day, and as a non-profit organization, really, we couldn't thank you all more for all the donations that you're doing. Thanks.
Love to see it. Pomelo in action, funding public goods and nonprofits for the benefit of all EOS community members. Really, really nice.
And we appreciate the support. I think we've directed some people, some Pomelo participants who are having troubles with their EOS accounts and things like that. We're directing to the EOS support guys. So it's benefit to us as a platform operator on EOS. Having broad EOS support is great. And all those email addresses you're collecting is going to be super helpful for our Mandel upgrade stuff. We're going to be out doing outreach to all the exchanges and dApp developers, making sure they're prepared for the upgrade. They don't get forked out when it comes to our consensus upgrade. So super valuable, that work and that you're doing and the data you're collecting.
Absolutely.
Bishop, charge them for Pomelo support .io, man.
Yeah,
So
we might have to hire you guys at some point for dedicated Pomelo support.
Always happy to help. Maybe organizations such as the ENF or small local communities. We know that the work we're doing is important. And when I joined the EOS support, I didn't know how much we could help and provide support to all the community, all the different ways that we could do that. And it's a really pleasure to see how much we can do to help the community grow and all the ways that we can do that. Sure. I'm always happy to explore more ways to do even more.
My goal is to get you guys doing also EOS starter support once we get the sales going as well.
Always happy to open communications about that. Sure. Hernan. Happy to answer any more questions.
Are you going to also be hanging around until the end of the Fireside tonight?
Actually, I'm with family at the time. I go spend some quality time with them as soon as I finish.
All right, so let's get those questions in here for Bishop while we still have them. Give it just a bit more time. I'm sure we can have some more comments from the crowd here. Maybe even.
Hey, Bishop.
Go for it.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Stefan. Yeah, Bishop, I just wanted to say a couple of things. So one, thanks so much for everything that you and the EOS support team is doing, as the others are saying. It's super appreciated by, I think, everybody in the community. And then two, I also don't know if I heard everything, because I think my service skipped out for a little bit, but I was wondering, it seems like there's a lot of people working with EOS support now, so I'm wondering how many people are working with EOS support too? And then I'm also really impressed with the artwork that's coming out too. And I know that you do some artwork, and I think there's some other great artists too. So yeah, it's really cool to see all the great artwork with EOS and for the Eden elections and stuff like that. So I don't know if there's really a question there, but thanks for that. And yeah, I'd be interested to hear more about how many people are there and I suppose who's making that art and so forth.
Sure. So I don't have the exact numbers. I think we're around a bit less than 20 support agents. So those are paid agents that are there to support and provide live chat support for the community 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And those are paid agents. So a bit less than 20 agents, all with their respective languages. Some of them are language leaders who manage all the agents and make sure their translations and respective text are well translated in each language. And after that, we have onboarded since then all the squad members I mentioned. So those are not paid agents per se, but it's important for us to build the squad agents and onboard them. So there are around 17 at the time. And there are local community agents that are helping build local communities, for example. And we know how important it is to have in each community, at least, or in each community or organization, someone that knows about EOS, that is knowledgeable about EOS, that knows how it works, And our goal was with those squad agents to make sure that they're rewarded for the job they're doing. So in helping people know more about EOS and helping their community know more about it and helping them out whenever there's a problem. So it was very important for us to help build this community. Even if they're not fully time paid agents, they're very important to us, and they're something that we want to build upon to make sure that every community and organization has a knowledgeable person that is well versed in EOS. As per the creations, I'm originally a content creator that started out doing some creations for the EOS ecosystem. I'm also a community manager and first helped the EOS support create some artwork. And I'm very pleased to say that we have a new content creator that have joined us, that is named Olga. And she's been the one that has been creating the latest illustrations that we've been doing for the preparations before Eden. And we plan to onboard even more content creators to help us illustrate and create content that is a way to, yes, onboard people easily. And, well, as a content creator, I know how important it is to have visuals that are explicit, that are friendly, that help people, well, that get sucked more easily into content. Sure. And I'm very happy to say that, yes, we have some pretty good content creators that have joined us. It's my pleasure to showcase them today.
This sounds awesome. Thank you very much. And I'm looking forward to seeing a lot more great work and also artwork from EOS support. Thanks so much, Bishop.
Thanks. Glad you liked it, Douglas.
All right, I've actually got one more question, and then I think we're going to wrap it up there afterwards and let you get back to your other family. What's your role exactly in EOS support?
So my role exactly is to manage communications. So now I'll be communicating on the social medias. My job is also to participate to conferences such as this one. So most of the week I'm over at conferences in all over the world, representing EOS support and the EOS community as a whole, teaching people about what we're doing, onboarding people into the squad agents. And that's globally my role. Yeah, it's to serve as a medium of communication between what we're doing over at EOS support and all the people that need to know about us, and will be better off knowing that EOS support exists and is there to provide them with support. So that's it. That's
nice.
more or less my role. Yeah,
that's great. I hope you continue doing that role. At least for the next 3 months with this Pomelo season, and hopefully many more seasons after that.
I'll be very happy to. I've been a community manager all my life, and I couldn't be happier today to be working with EOS support. EOS, through its democratic fractal systems, through its decentralization, I'm really in love with that. And I couldn't be more happy today to be working with EOS support to help people onboard the community that we have here. Sure.
Deserves more applause and even some horns.
Thanks, Stephen.
All right, thanks a lot, Bishop, for joining us, and have a good evening, and I'm sure we'll talk to you again on another Fireside.
Sure. Very happy to. Thanks, everyone.
All right, those were some good pitches. I'm impressed. I like it. I'm excited to actually go shopping on Pomelo later on this week. Okay, so maybe some of you have noticed that Zach or Eve are not here with us today. They had Eve had a last minute whatever. They can't be here today, and so we've got some still a lot of ENF news that has happened in the last week. Unfortunately, we won't be able to get that nice juicy alpha that we're used to from Eve and Zach. But if you guys have any thoughts you'd like to share on some of the news that went down this week, if you have questions for people in here, I see a lot of people here that are, of course, part of many of the most active projects on EOS right now. So feel free to, give some shout outs or some questions to people you see in the chat. One thing I'd like to talk a bit about is the Eden election that went on just last week. I'm wondering if there are some new Eden chief delegates in the chat with us today. Maybe they'd want to jump on the mic and share a bit about their experience. Or do we only have retired chief delegates with us here today? I do see a few of those in the chat for sure. Maybe they want to jump in and talk about retirement life and what that's been like.
You know, it's been a really good thing. Kicking back, relaxing, enjoying the being out of politics. You know, a lot of stress in politics.
Yeah, I second that. It's been very relaxing and quiet. I almost don't know what to do with myself. Oh wait, I have another job.
Yeah, good stuff, guys. Who are the new chief delegates, and are they in here? Can we call someone out? I'm looking here.
Is there a Chuck McDonald in the house? I see. Maybe.
Oh, there you go.
Maybe.
I think we
There's
found
Chuck.
one.
And yeah, there he is. So I'm on mute. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Chuck.
Speech.
I'll say anything you want me to say.
Just tell us how great it's going to be under your wise counsel.
When moon?
We already have the moon.
Oh. You've been keeping it.
So maybe share a bit about what platform got you elected to the final round, Chuck.
Well, if you want to watch the exciting video, we pretty much didn't talk much about consensus. We pretty much stuck to our own vote and then waited for the world to end.
Sounds fun and exciting.
So what I committed.
And how did you break the tie break then?
Sorry, say again.
Maybe I misunderstood what you were saying, but just share about your experience on Saturday in the election, and maybe a bit of how the rounds went.
Yeah. Well, it was a really cool experience. Again, just like the first time round. I ran as somebody who wanted to help Eden to step out sort of boldly. So if I was to summarize my pitch, it would be like an Eden Pride sort of platform. So Eden is its own thing, and we need to develop it further, and we need to find out any deficiencies, and we need to fix them. But the basic gist of it is that we need to take control of our own destiny and find out how best we can help realize our mission. I'm fully on board with what the previous chief delegates came up with as a mission statement. We are here to provide value to the EOS ecosystem. And I think, as Dan laid it out about a year ago, pretty much the way that we do that, our methodology is this Eden process. And what that means is that people are elected and given budgets to do whatever they want with those budgets. And they are accountable to the next electors. So there's, as Eve has said, I guess he said, well, just recently, maybe last week, he just wants to see more iterations, and he just wants to see people trying things. He wants to encourage a culture of personal responsibility and entrepreneurship. So I think Eden is about encouraging people to make the choice to step out as individuals and make a difference in the ecosystem as humans, right? So whatever talents somebody can bring to the organization, everybody's welcome. So I think the point of Eden and the point of having these elections, and I really wish that there were more elections, and just maybe not more elections, but just run the process more and more, which is why I'm behind the idea of making a product, making a DApp out of the Eden process, because the code is absolutely beautiful and we want to share this with the world. So I just want to see it happen more and more often, because it's going to help the community to identify people with talents in certain areas, in all areas. So I think to expand on what Dan's concept was, where you just give somebody a budget and they distribute the budget, like not everything in the world is reducible to money. Like you can't put a price on some things, or the price won't be accurate rather on everything. So the power that Eden has isn't necessarily the raw EOS, currency, the raw EOS funding that we can contribute to the ecosystem. It's bringing talents together, and we can all find out how we can work together to do things. So I don't think it's, finding out how people have spent their money isn't the one determining factor of whether somebody what somebody did, because as Eden members, we each provide a lot of intangibles that don't show up on blocks.io, and Eden members who hang around and participate in the culture of EOS are valuable for that contribution in itself, regardless of how they might spend their budgets. So a lot of people are we see a lot of people talking about the need to refine the process, like define the process. Like, what are we doing when we elect people? Like, what are we actually electing people for? And I would argue personally, I would agree, going back to the very beginning, to Dan's original idea. You're electing people. You're electing a complete package, right? The person has a complete. You can't separate necessarily their talents from them as an individual. We're basically putting all of our talents into a big pool. And the more that we know about each other, and the more that we know about each other's projects, the more we talk to one another, the more we figure out what is needed in different corners of the ecosystem, and particularly different corners of the Eden community. The more we can sort that out, the better we can help each other, and not just by spreading money around, by helping people with particular needs in terms of skills. So if we need people who can help develop, we're getting developers who can help make things happen, who are keen on helping other Eden members succeed, right? And if we're going to be moving in the direction of a decentralized, autonomous community, that we need to work together and share not just monetary resources, but all resources. So what I think Eden should be doing going forward is developing tools so that we can really work as a team on projects, rather than just electing people to spend resources on those projects. And that, I think, would make that EOS funding go further. So I forget now, because I'm rambling. I forget what question I just frickin' answered.
I don't know, but that was great, Chuck.
Yeah, and I'm wondering how closely are these goals compared to the Pomelo pitch that you did on the Fireside here last week? It feels like they're fairly similar, but maybe you can share more insights on that and how that grant plays into this Eden position.
Yeah, as I've stated a few times now in the last few weeks, like I'm a really big fan of well-crafted internet experiences, and I don't think anybody can argue that Eden is not a well-crafted experience, right? So what I would really like to see is us sharing that in every way that we can think of. So I'm an advocate of taking the Eden experience and finding out how we can make it into something that is easily used by anybody in the world. And it would help bring people to blockchain in general, but more specifically, obviously, to Eden and EOS. And I think it's just an example of what can happen when people get together to solve these problems that that Dan laid out in his book. But accountability and transparency and common advantage, all of these problems that are in democracy right now. I see this as the beginnings of solving these on a large scale. So what I would love to be able to do is help Eden become a plugin for other communities. Like we don't need them. We don't need everybody to join Eden, right? But Eden could join everybody. So if I think I use the imagery like different pieces of software can be their own functional little things, but when you put them together, you have something greater than the sum of the parts. And just like a cell, a biological cell, you have different organelles inside the cell that do their own thing, but they would be nothing without the greater cell, the cohesion that the cell provides. So I think if you're familiar with the idea of a mitochondrion, it's like the powerhouse of the cell, and it may have been another entity all by itself that was swallowed by the cell, right? And now they're two things acting together for a greater purpose. So I think Eden, if we design it well, it could become like a mitochondrion that any organization could take into itself, and it could become like a department or an engine for that organization. So a lot of DAOs right now are struggling. You see DAOs that are built on Ethereum. It's a great idea, and they've put so many resources into making this software, but it's unusable because of the transaction speed and the cost and everything like that. And we can see, I mean, if you were watching the election round where Jay changed his vote, like they changed their votes with literally 2 seconds left. That's impossible on Ethereum. That's impossible on any other blockchain. Those kind of experiences are only possible here, and it's something that Eden can provide the world, and it's something that's really engaging to watch. Now that I've watched it, it's something that we can offer. Any organization in the world can take this core technology of the Eden election system and incorporate it to achieve their own consensus needs.
All right. Nice long answer. Well, congratulations on winning, as an Eden, the elections on Saturday. For those who are curious, the other chief delegates are Brock Pierce, Michael O'Sullivan from Bywire News, Edgar Fernandez from EOS Costa Rica, and Gracie Alau. So those are our 5 chief delegates for this season of Eden. Maybe one more question that I'm wondering is, are we going to see Eden elections faster than every 6 months? Right now, I see that on the website, it does say that the next election is October 8th. I know the previous chief delegates proposed some amendments to how Eden runs, and then it's up, from what I understand, it's up to the current chief delegates to accept these and implement them. So are there any plans to, get these elections going every 3 months?
As far as I know, there is. That's something that I was in support of. So, like right now, obviously, it's coded for 6 months from now, but we have to identify a way for us to update our coding as bylaw changes occur. So, I would say that's pretty much, besides the hellos tomorrow. That's tomorrow will be our first meeting, by the way. Besides our greetings, that's the first item on the agenda, is ratifying or not the recommendations from the previous chief delegates. So
Great. Well, I hope you guys. Yeah, I hope you guys do it. Let's get more Eden elections going, and perhaps every 3 months might be timed at the same time as Pomelo. We could see some nice synergies going there potentially.
Chuck, can I jump in for a second?
Of course, man.
I think you touched a very important point there, Chuck. What is coded right now and how we're able right now to code it. So right now, Eden is completely dependent on the Fractally team from Dan Latimer, as in Brendan Pancher and Mike Manfredi, to do all the coding in terms of Eden. So is there a willingness from the Fractally team to hand it over to Eden, let Eden handle their own smart contracts, their own website, our own website, our own to the community? Or are we right now, is the model going to be forever dependent on what the Fractally team decides to either do or not do in regards to Eden?
Yeah, so I really don't know the answer to that because I haven't spoken with anybody from the Fractally team regarding this.
Lovejoy, you're on the team, right?
I'm with the ENF, but I can take that question. I've been talking to Randall, which I don't think Randall's here right now, but he would be the person to address this head on, probably. He's been interfacing with the Fractally team the most in the lead up to this just election we just had. As EOS support has largely been leading the documentation and all the work around performing that last election alongside the Fractally team, mostly Bancher and Manfredi. And the goal is to hand off maintenance of the contract and ability to make changes. I know Randall has at least one smart contract dev. EOS support has that dev studying the Eden contract and sort of building up capacity to make any changes that need to be made. But there's a bit of hand-holding going on with the Fractally team, and it sounds like the Fractally team, or at least Fancher and Manfredi, are committed to making sure that Eden can stand on its own 2 feet and have that capacity to make its own changes. And so support has kind of taken that on for the moment. And of course, we'd like to see other developers within the Eden community that also have capacity to push changes to the contract or contracts, as the case may be, across multiple different Eden communities. So
I think maybe an interesting topic to put up for the next chief delegate meeting is whether or not Eden would be able to set up kind of an operation fund that regardless of who gets elected, like we do have a smart contract developer and a front-end developer taking care of the Eden interface and all that's needed for that kind of ongoing development, and that could be reinstated and voted every election. But I think if we want Eden to stand up on its own 2 feet, we have to set that basis too.
Yep. And this is something we've gone back and forth a lot on. What were you going to say, Chuck?
No, I think the responsible thing to do is to figure out what the needs are and then put together a request for proposals, right?
Yeah, there's a couple of ways to approach this. It gets, you get an interesting territory when, I mean, if funding goes to Eden the way it's going now, and I mean, one of the most elegant solutions I've heard is just that, some chief delegate should run on, or somebody should run on funding operations from their chief delegate budget. That'd be like the fastest way to do this, because then we don't need to divert anyone, create like a separate pool, which gets into weird
It
legal.
can be done now, but as part of the ongoing Eden thing, the chief delegates would want to make sure, we all would like to make sure that regardless of who's gets elected chief delegate, that kind of budget is set already aside, and we're not going to end up with a period of 3 or 6 months with no developer to call because the chief delegates this time they decide to use the fund somewhere else or something.
Right. Yeah. In general, I totally support that idea, and it'd be worth mentioning, because Chuck probably won't mention it, that his Pomelo project is kind of goal one. I believe that's one of the goals is to develop Eden code base as kind of a standalone. He could probably speak more to that, but between support and any other community initiatives and then it'd be nice for Eden to have like an operations fund. That's something we spoke a lot about, and it could be used for a lot more than just contract updates as well, but that'd be a really key component.
It also puts us in a much better position when we need to decide, whether how to integrate with Fractally, because if we don't have those resources, then the de facto thing is, okay, so Fractally is doing upgrades, they're getting some things, so eventually we'll inevitably have to kind of integrate their terms of Fractal on Fractally or something. But if we already start building that strong base or independence in terms of the code ownership and the code updating, then we can decide, right? Do we want to integrate this part from Fractally? Do we want to, do our own there? Do we want to? And I think that's the best way to go at it.
Yep. I don't have anything else to add on that at the moment, but Chuck, what time is the meeting tomorrow? The other thing is, we did actually draft a set of recommendations that were outside of the bylaws, and I don't know that those ever got finished or published. So I can try to get those to you all, or just publish them before your meeting. It's kind of some stuff we weren't able to get to, but realized that needed to be addressed at some point, and wasn't going to make it into the bylaws. So
yeah, Brandon, if you want to just drop that in my Telegram chat with you, then I can share that with everybody tomorrow for sure. The meeting is first thing tomorrow morning, my time, to try to help everybody around the world.
yeah, right. Yeah, you've got some really challenging time zones to contend with on that one.
Yeah, we sure do.
And then Brock's time zone could change depending on what airspace he's currently in at any moment. So
All right. We're looking
well,
forward
I wish
to
you
the next
guys
meeting.
the best of luck. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
All right. What else do we have here on the agenda for today? The quarterly report, the second one published by the ENF, was published just a few hours ago. I haven't had the chance to look at it yet. I'm wondering if someone in here has, and if they have any comments or thoughts they'd like to share about it. I know Lovejoy's seen it at the minimum.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna just hold off in case somebody actually just
Sure,
read it.
let's
Hi,
let some others chime in.
hey, I just scan it a little bit quickly. The main
Sure.
thing that attracted me that tracking the engagement from the Twitter space or the events, the blogs that been published. So it is a good thing that it is also been mentioned, because the remaining it was mentioning about a summary of the grant, a summary of the blue papers, what is being changed, and the kind of mini roadmap or the short-term roadmap. So like this part of the information has never been shared before. So for me, it was something attractive.
Perfect. Thanks for sharing your comments.
Thank you.
I know it's a fairly big effort that the ENF takes on here for these quarterly reports. They're translated in many languages, incorporates a lot of information, very well displayed, and yeah, it's great to see the transparency every quarter. We can see exactly how the ENF is using the inflation that it's allocated, and yeah, it's good. It's good stuff. Anyone else have some comments to share especially if they've read it already? All right, I guess that's your cue, Lovejoy. If you have anything you want to share about this quarterly report. Brandon has stepped away, I suppose.
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. Yeah, no, I don't at the moment have anything I want to draw people's attention to in particular, other than, yeah, there's quite a lot there and it's definitely worth going over. And I kind of didn't expect anyone would have a whole lot to say because it's a big report to take in hours before this conversation. So next week would be probably a good time to go over more in depth what people were able to glean from this report. Are we still here? Am I still here? Hello?
We can hear you, Lovejoy.
Oh, the music stopped, Stefan stopped talking, and I was just out here in the wilderness. Yeah, I got nothing for you about the report other than what's in the report right now. So what is the next exciting topic?
I guess Steph wandered off this time.
Yeah.
All right, Trimbot here. I'll jump in with something about the report. I don't know if anyone read about the yield plus blurb or the part about the team responsible for EOS EVM business development. But I think that's something that's really really underappreciated of how important that's going to be. I think business development has been a huge gap for EOS over the last few years. And finally, we have people in place who have a proven track record of being successful in this regard. And I think it's going to create a ton of momentum for us in the next few months.
Yeah, I think there's some between the quarterly report and some of the news that came out last week, and realizing if you start putting all the dots together, I think a picture starts to emerge that is pretty bullish for EOS. So that being one of them.
And there's also going to be coming out soon, like a website for like a product for the EVM on EOS, right? I don't know if that's detailed in the report, but it seems like the product will be like really polished from the website, from what I've heard so far.
Yeah, I don't have any specific details on that, but there is a Twitter Spaces event coming up on this coming Tuesday, the 19th at 9 a.m. Eastern, hosted by the ENF with Eve and some other special guests, I would imagine, and probably learn a little bit more about some good juicy details of EVM at that time.
Cool. Sounds good. I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, I'm glad to see that the ENF and EOS community is doing more Twitter spaces as well. And also Trimbot, I think that you did a test for a Twitter space recently, or you were talking about doing Twitter spaces. And yeah, I'm interested to see more of those from the ENF, Trimbot, from everybody, because those are super helpful for expanding the reach and spreading the word more about EOS.
Yeah, I just did a casual sort of drop in Twitter space. It was like on a Friday afternoon on a whim. I was just sort of like posted a tweet and said, hey, I know I want to jump in 5 minutes, and was surprised like 40 people showed up, including Yves and Zach, Gal. So I thought that was great. I've been talking with JRNY Crypto, really big influencer, probably one of the biggest in crypto, about doing a sort of dual EOS space. He's planning on putting together a deep dive video on EOS over the coming weeks or months. I don't know when, but he's paying attention to EOS, and I can't overstate just how big of an influencer this guy is. I think he's got like 650,000 subscribers on YouTube, like 1 million on Twitter. And the great thing about Twitter Spaces is it's sort of like Twitter's algorithm is designed in a way where it wants to promote any space. And when someone like JRNY joins a space, it will promote it even further. And so even if you don't care to listen to an EOS space, Twitter space, if you just join it, it will have a really big network effect. It's like retweeting. I'm also talking with Patrick Laurie, the individual who, if you guys don't know who he is, the guy who started the ETP, basically. Me, him, and Brock may do a Twitter space in the coming weeks or so, and I'll just try to, find anyone else who's a notable sort of influencer, someone with a large audience who can help have a Twitter space. I think there's a lot of different interesting topics we can talk about, but the most important thing is just showing to crypto Twitter, the crypto sphere that is largely anti-EOS and thinks it's dead and gone, that it's coming back and it's active and more active than ever.
Awesome. Yeah, looking forward to that. That sounds great. And good tip about just reminding people to just join the space, even just to lend the network effect that it will have. So do your part, pull up your sleeves, join that Twitter space, and then mute it if you have to.
Nice.
Steph, are you back? Did I hear you laugh?
Yeah, I'm back. I'm back. My
Cool.
internet crapped out. I'm on my backup now.
All right.
Yeah. See, we've been talking about Twitter engagement and ENF space, Twitter spaces, and potentially other Twitter spaces. I'm definitely a fan of those ideas. Has anyone here gone through the grant framework article that was released last week? I think it was on Friday morning or Thursday morning. And is anyone here going to apply to the grant framework? I'd love to hear about people if you guys are interested in that.
Can I have a link to that to the grant? I see the article on Medium, but is there any is that the thing we should go for? Or?
That's the thing you should go for. And then in there
Yeah.
you'll find other links to the GitHub repo that has more information, and to the types of grants that can qualify, the amount of money that's up for grabs, the way to apply, and all that good stuff.
Awesome. I'm on it.
There's definitely not a lack of funding venues for people in the EOS ecosystems who are interested in building. We've got the grant framework, and these grant frameworks, what's very unique about it compared to, for example, Pomelo and to some extent Eden, is that these grant frameworks could be for for-profit ventures, and they're kind of designed to be kind of seed money, seed funding. For a for-profit venture that's just starting out, and the ENF is not requesting equity in exchange, so it's really just a grant, seed funding grant. So that's really interesting. I know they've been working hard on designing it. Ted Cahal is not with us today, but I know he's been working hard on this product as well, and so yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of projects are applying and receiving grants from this new direct grant framework. I know that there's at least one team right now going through the process, kind of as a beta test. I don't know who the team is, but so the grant framework is already, being tested out, and I'm sure it's going to evolve over time as more teams apply. They go through the process, they see what works and what doesn't.
The list of grant evaluators is a very intriguing list, I would say. People to check out who those folks are. We have a really.
I think you're gonna have to share a bit more if you're gonna just drop a little teaser like that.
Yeah, well, we've got some new team members that are on board. I don't want to talk out of school. I forget what's public and what's not public. My brain starts to melt down.
Fair enough. I don't want you to slip up. Here, I'm pulling up the article myself here. Let's see. So we've got grant evaluators who are going to be reviewing applications, of course. We've got Ereg, I'm not even going to pronounce that last name, Director of Engineering at the EOS Network Foundation. We've got Bucky Kittinger, Principal Engineer at the EOS Network Foundation. We've got Matt Witherspoon, another Principal Engineer at ENF. Bart Wyatt, currently CTO of NFT42, former Block 1 VP of Blockchain Engineering, is also one of the evaluators. And look at that, Denis Carrière from EOS Nation is also one of the evaluators. We would have liked to talk a bit more about these new hires, but I think we're going to leave that up to Eve or Zach when they're going to join us, most likely next week. I myself don't know too much. I'm not sure how much, Brendan, you're familiar with these guys and their backgrounds. Maybe we'll keep that for next week. But, in the meantime, and we've got, grant operate for the grant operations. We've got Ted Cahal and Jeff Warner. Was that my audio going weird, or was that someone trying to talk? I
I think that's
you're a
Agent
robot.
Smith. I think that's Agent Smith
I
and the
think Agent
Matrix.
Smith has taken over Lovejoy. Watch out, everyone. Get your virus protection up. No, still possessed.
We will never give you the codes to Zion at Eden.
I've had that issue before. You usually fix it just leaving the chat and coming back seems to do the trick.
Does I sound like a crazy robot? Am I back?
Okay, you're back.
Weird. Got scrambled there. Sorry. Matrix.
They're attacking my internet. They're attacking your voice.
Seriously. All right.
So I guess we'll wait for next week and Zach and Eve to share more about these guys and how awesome it is that they're working for ENF and for this grant framework.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm working on a developer spotlight series, so hopefully we'll have some cool interviews and on some of these new characters, some new old characters, and then continue on with other members, other excellent devs in the EOSIO community, and do a little bit of who's behind all this magic that we got cooking up around here.
Awesome. Yeah, great. Thanks for sharing that. I think I wasn't aware of that. Dropping a bit of alpha. Maybe you weren't supposed to. Maybe we got you. We got you to reveal some information.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's not too top secret.
Cool. Good stuff. Yeah, so we've got a few more topics here that I had on note, but if anyone, has stuff they want to share, updates about their own project, feel free to jump in here at any point. I do see that the Dogman is still here on the Fireside today. Dogman, did you want to talk a bit about your brainstorming sessions for Fractally on EOS?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to. So thanks, Stefan, and thanks everybody for the great conversation so far. So yeah, we've been doing Fractally on EOS brainstorming sessions. These were set up by Jesse from the EOSBs and Patrick from Nova Crypto. And we've been doing them for about the past month to figure out the best way to implement Fractally on EOS and empower EOS with Fractally. And because there was all that kind of confusion and lack of clarity over the past couple months since Fractally was announced. And then Jesse had a great conversation with Dan Larimer on the chief delegate meeting number 22 or something like that, where basically they agreed that having a more defined and detailed proposal that goes step by step and explains exactly how it could be implemented and have a gradual build up and also something that works for all cultures across the many nations of EOS. So that's basically the goal of it, to build a proposal like that. And we've been meeting every week. We've been on Mondays, an alternate time schedule between 14 and 19 UTC. And it's been really great. There's been probably an average of about 10 people. A lot of people probably on this call. I don't think that Jesse and Patrick are here, but I know Chuck was on one recently. I'm not sure who's saying that right now.
Whoa, what's going on, Cave? All right, keep going.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. And by the way, Cave on Basil recently shared some music, which is really cool too. He shared that in the music channel. So just a shout out there, because he plays some awesome guitar and sings really well. And I always love to see that. But yeah, so yeah, we've been doing that. We've also been doing the Fractally meetings on Saturdays, basically every week for like almost the past 2 months now. And those have been going great. But what we're trying to do here with the meetings that Jesse and Patrick set up is to make a plan to implement Fractally on EOS. And we've also been discussing a little bit about making EOS Fractal so that people could come to these events every week and also be rewarded with EOS for helping EOS. So there's a lot of exciting discussions that we've been having. Jesse shared a proposal that is quite detailed to start with 3 different fractals, prime fractals in English and China and Korea. And he's been working with Ami and some great leaders and technical leaders on developing that proposal more. We've been discussing it. There's also Das, who I recently met, who shared a really great proposal to focus on funding projects. And then during this past week, we also kind of came up with a suggestion to maybe bootstrap Fractally with Pomelo too, and have it where there's like maybe a matching pool specifically for fractals. So those are some of the ideas that we've been having and sharing. There's a lot more too. Chuck and Joshua were also talking about starting with seed funding rather than inflation. And Joshua, speaking of the grant framework, he was also thinking that maybe Fractally should in some way use the grant framework, or the group that we're working with, which is separately from Fractally. We're just EOS community members, but maybe the EOS community should somehow use the grant framework. So yeah, they've been really cool and exciting. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and everyone's welcome to attend. There's also an incentivization mechanism, which I forgot to mention. So Jesse and the EOSBs are funding with 100 EOS per week to EOS community members who submit ideas that are added, and we're using the mindmap.io, which is set up from Patrick's company, Nova Crypto. So basically during the meetings, we have the mind map, which is really cool software, which displays all the ideas. And then each week, all the participants on the call will see all the ideas that are submitted, and we'll discuss them and we'll vote on them. And then if a supermajority of people on the call agree that's a good idea, then the person who submits the idea will get an EOS prize of up to 100 EOS. So there's incentives to do it right away. So thanks to Jesse for that. And yeah, it's been great. Jesse and Patrick have been doing a great job leading it. You can listen to all of the recordings on the Nova Crypto channel. There's 4 recordings and lots of great ideas there. And yeah, as I've shared before, I'm super excited about Fractally, and I think it could be super helpful for EOS. And so I think that this initiative and this group is doing really helpful work to help empower EOS with Fractally and figure out a step-by-step plan, which is really needed and really helpful. So yeah, it's really great. I hope that gave a good overview, and I'd be happy to answer any questions or discuss it further. And also, I'd just like to once again invite people. I can share a link in the chat to the mind map if people want to propose ideas. And then also the next meeting is on Monday at 19 UTC. So everyone's welcome to attend, and it would be great to see people there. It would be great to see more community members helping out to build Fractally on EOS.
Great, thanks for sharing, Dogman.
You're welcome.
Right.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, let's hear it. If we've got some comments or questions for Dogman. I'm going to play a bit of music while we wait. Also, at any time, if anyone has some other news they want to share, please feel very free to jump in. And then there's a few housekeeping items to get done, and then we're probably going to wrap it up afterwards.
Guys, so I just wanted to pitch my grant.
Sure, go for it.
Sorry about that, guys. Technical difficulties here. Yeah, so hi everyone, my name is Francis. I'll be pitching for Grex. So just to give you a backstory, I'm a marketing professional and lifelong environmentalist. My job has always been to align goals. And so with climate change presenting a myriad of issues, I knew blockchain simply as the technology would have valuable impact in the environmental and social sectors. So with that being said, the Grex Public Good offers an open source supply chain management use case, empowering end users with the tools of industry standard IoT integration. So integrating external controllers, snowballing into our industry IoT. experience. So supply chain collaboration can take place either vertically within a business or industry, or horizontally across non-correlated businesses and industries. So Grex focuses on horizontal adoption. So what does that mean? That means by standardizing supply chain management best practices, the EOSIO shared framework would benefit across industries, especially that of independent retail, CPGs, art, and publishing. So essentially providing general oversight measures for operators. So EOS's unique flexibility and scalability protocol features funnels new users in tandem with growth via an ease of use front-end solution to an integrated back-end solution featuring smart contracts. Our public good focuses on RFIDs and NFCs as these external input drivers, whereas our particular business use case centers around an integrated external data entry, offering an end-to-end solution. We're touching base and mixing with collaborators both internally and externally of the EOS ecosystem to jumpstart development. In addition, we are already collaborating with municipalities ready to explore revenue generating opportunities with the Grex end-to-end solution. So I'm really excited. I am quite new to the EOS ecosystem, but I've known Lovejoy for a number of years. Actually met in Oslo at a a crypto seminar. So that was pretty cool. And yeah, I'm still pretty new and fresh, but I'm really liking the vibe of the ecosystem. Thanks.
Thanks for joining us today and sharing your pitch. I shared the Pomelo grant link in the stream chat for anyone who wants to check it out further. And shout out to Lovejoy for bringing more people into the ecosystem. Love to see it. Speaking about short pitches for Pomelo, next week, instead of having 2 main pitches, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing some rapid fire Pomelo pitch sessions. So 2 minutes for the pitch, 1 minute for one question, and then we're on to the next one. So there's been 24 applications to our Google form for people who want to pitch either here, on the Generios pitch deck sessions on YouTube, or on the Tencent meetings on WeChat for the Asian community. And so we're going to try to get as many as we can to at least share a tiny bit next week. Very similar format to what Francis did here, which is like a short 2-minute pitch. So again, if you have a pitch you want to share with the community, I'm going to share the link right now in the chat, and you can go fill out that form and get on the list for the rapid fire pitches of next week. Another little piece of housekeeping, the weekly Kahoot quiz that we've been doing for Blue Papers on Fridays. We're not going to be having them this week because we've gone through all 4 Blue Papers that have been published at this point. There is still Recover Plus and Yield Plus coming out, which may not be the type of Blue Paper that we've seen from the other projects, which have been very detailed and extensive. Probably going to be a bit lighter than those, but still they're going to be coming in maybe 1 month or 2 months. I'm not sure exactly. When they are released, then we're going to finish these Kahoot quiz series for the leaderboard. And for people who have participated so far in the previous week, I'll be sending out the EOS prizes that everyone's accumulated so far in the coming days, and then we'll do the leaderboard prizes, at the end of the series when Recover Plus and Yield Plus are published. All right. Check out the chat real quick. Got a lot of people in there. If anyone has something to share with the community, now's the time, or wait till next week.
Yeah, I just wanted to actually acknowledge Francis for stepping up and giving it a little pitch. That project is really cool. I know it's this community can probably be kind of intimidating to people that aren't like just geeking out on blockchain 24/7. So glad you're able to do that, Francis.
I just hate public speaking in general. So I just had my pitch, delivered it, give it the 1, 2, 3 ABC, and there you go. I'm very black and white type of person. So as you can tell with the branding.
Yeah, and if that was your speed round pitch, then if anyone has one question for Francis, go for it.
I see Jean in the chat as well, sharing that the report for his energy simulation of EOS is out, and the results are posted on Twitter. And that's, I believe, the result of his first season of Pomelo Grant. Thanks for sharing, Jean.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to just share it and put it out there. I see there's kind of more venues for discussing it and marketing with the rapid fire next week, maybe, but yeah, no, I mean, I put a lot of work into this kind of preparing this report, and um, it's like a short post, but I mean, it's a long report, and there's a lot of interesting stuff to discuss, and um, yeah, but overall, I think like the results are, that overall it's a very energy efficient um, kind of outcome, and but I mean the energy model goes in detail about um, like the impacts of that heat load on the cooling system, and I mean, so like the energy load for the servers is kind of almost equal to the cooling load, so it's so all these stuff to consider, and um, yeah, no, it was really interesting to prepare all that, and I think like um, some quick recommendations are like playing around with the server power core to or power to server core um, ratio, stuff like that. I think in clustering, there's all kinds of like energy efficiency savings that we can get from the load, but I think like uh, reducing the load in CPU cores, I think is an opportunity since it kind of doubles as cooling and electrical consumption. So um, yeah, and I think like
All
yeah,
right, very interesting. Glad to know that EOS is indeed very energy efficient. Sometimes may seem like common sense, but even in science, they will do these studies just to prove that the common sense is actual fact in reality. So I feel like that kind of applies here. And yeah, thanks for that work. I'll be checking out your report when I get a chance. And I know you've got another grant as well for Pomelo Season 2. Maybe you want to give a quick speed round pitch for your Pomelo Season 2 grant while we're at it.
yeah. Yeah, just go quick at it, but basically it kind of like weaves into from the first project into the second. Like my original goal was to uh, build the model geometry with Blender, an open source free tool. But there was a bug in the Windows 10 Python for Blender, so I went with SketchUp, which is not a free tool. But anyways, for this next project, like I'm not going to focus on like the energy modeling component, like the GBXML file format that was created with the 3D modeling software. But long story short is that, I want to explore 3D objects, like just the objects themselves, not an energy model anymore. But the concept of modeling 3D geometry is, similar. But but yeah, so for this next grant, I'll be kind of focusing on spatial objects and 3D objects. So this building would be an object. So like I can export this whole building that I did as a single object, and then that could be like an NFT. So that kind of feature of like 3D, what they use is the GLB file standard. And so I think it's on Ethereum, and there's other blockchains that use it, um, but that kind of file format is a way of building an object. So like you would design it like the enclosure, the volume, but it doesn't really matter about the interior. But if you have like translucent things like glass or something, then so it's something like I'm not like I want to do the grant proposal for to figure out, exactly those details, like what gets imported, what gets kind of, how do we play with, like how to build those objects, those 3D blockchain objects more specifically. So it's it's an area of a field that I'm kind of involved in already, but this next proposal just focuses more on those kind of visual aspects of the objects, and yeah, so
Awesome.
so I'll be doing more discussion about that, but yeah, in a nutshell, that's
cool. Thanks for doing that little pitch where after I put you on the spot there.
yes, no problem.
All right, so I think we're gonna wrap it up here. So thanks again for joining, everyone. Been a good been a good fireside chat, even though we didn't have Zach and Eve with us this time. I think it's the first time since I've been hosting these firesides. I'm sure they'll be back next week, and I'm sure many of you will be back next week as well. So thanks for joining. Have a good night, and go EOS.
Go EOS.
Go EOS.
Go
Go
EOS.
EOS.
Go EOS.